Welcome to Last Dawn Stories channel. The apocalypse descended, and at the brink of life and death, my husband awakened a spatial ability, just enough to accommodate 3 people. He shielded Kathy, his white moonlight, from the divorce, and pushed me toward the zombies. Marrying you was already enough of a betrayal to Kathy. This time, I can't abandon her again. The son I painstakingly raised held Kathy's hand, looking at me with disgust. That old woman should have made way for Aunt Kathy long ago. Filled with hatred, I was devoured alive by the zombies. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day before my husband awakened his supernatural ability. This time, I awakened my ability first, the power to make certain organs disappear from those who cheat. I used my supernatural ability on my husband, but I never expected his mouth, anus, belly button, and even his ears to disappear. Wait, even the ears. I was reborn the day before my husband awakened his supernatural ability. When I opened my eyes, my forehead was burning hot, but my body was shivering from the cold. Strange movements could be heard not far away, accompanied by odd sounds from time to time. Jack, you're so bad. Rita is still running a fever, and you're doing this to me. Tom is watching too. How embarrassing. If we're going to pursue excitement, then let's go all the way. She's burning up like this, probably won't make it. I only married her because she looked like you. Now I can finally have you openly. No more pretending to be on business trips. And that little brat, let him watch if he wants to. Let him understand you're my woman. My heart shuddered. So these 2 beasts had been together even before the apocalypse, and my precious premature son also loved that Kathy. Disgusting. I glared at those 3 with hatred. In our previous life, it was Jack who had the fever. He got bitten on the arm by a zombie while protecting Kathy, yet Kathy, fearing he might turn, urged me to abandon Jack while he was unconscious with high fever. After 20 years of marriage, how could I possibly give up on him, risking my life? I ventured into a pharmacy swarming with zombies to fetch anti-inflammatory medicine, then stayed up all night tending to Jack without rest. The next day, Jack woke up and awakened a superpower, before I could even rejoice. He and our son pushed me into a horde of zombies, where I met a tragic end. I was seething with hatred, but the excruciating pain left me immobile, forced to listen to the sounds of their affection and that ungrateful son Tom's DIY noises. Jack and I met through a blind date. He was the one who pursued me. I initially thought he had a somewhat obsessive personality, and I heard he had a 7-year relationship before. After our first coffee date, I told him not to contact me again. But Jack launched an intense pursuit. Without my consent, he showed up at my parents' house, and it was during the Mid-Autumn Festival, a time for family reunions. I came to greet the elders. These are all gifts for the occasion. If possible, I would like to become your son-in-law. I truly like Rita. I told him to get out, but the elders thought it was just a lover's quarrel and warmly welcomed him. I couldn't argue my way out of it. Jack gave me a smug smile, which made me so angry that I ran back to my school dormitory during the Mid-Autumn Festival. I passed the entrance exam for an elementary school near my home when I graduated, and the school provided dormitory accommodation. It was supposed to be a holiday for family reunions, but I ended up eating instant noodles alone in my dorm. What's worse, Jack started waiting for me at my school, and my colleagues all thought he was my boyfriend. Your boyfriend is really handsome. And you two seem so sweet. He picks you up every day. Hold on tight. I was overwhelmed by the disturbance but had no choice, nor could I quit the hard-earned civil service position I had secured just because of him. The turning point came when my father was in a severe car accident and ended up in the ICU. With tears in my eyes, I not only had to take care of my mother who fell ill from the shock, but also handle school assignments and the entanglement from my parents, truly stretched too thin. Yet Jack patiently ran around helping me, personally took care of my father, and even carried his urine for him. My heart gradually softened. Later, we got married. Jack has oligospermia, which causes our children to miscarry naturally. Tom was the one I managed to carry to term with great difficulty, and giving birth to him nearly cost me half my life. This pain made me somewhat resent Jack. My attitude toward children is, if they come, it's fate. If they don't, it's also fate. But Jack insists he truly wants to have a child with me, and his long-term persuasion has turned having a child into my own obsession as well. At 25, I had Tom. Ming means tomorrow, signifying that Tom is my future, my hope, for the next 18 years of marriage. Jack and I treated each other with respect, and I poured even more love into Tom, though romantic love faded. I believe what remained between us was an unbreakable bond of family. Our handsome, obedient son successfully got into a top university. I can finally breathe a sigh of relief and start enjoying my life. Then the apocalypse came, and I met a gruesome end in the jaws of a zombie. When I woke from the dream, tears of hatred still clung to the corners of my eyes. My body felt much lighter, and I could sense a strange power surging within. I awakened a superpower. But my happy expression vanished the next second, because my superpower is making the organs of cheaters disappear. What kind of weird ability is this? Can it kill zombies? Oh my God, did you make me reborn just to toy with me? Still grieving, my son's voice came through. Mom, you're actually awake. So surprised. How much did you wish for me to die? I looked at him carefully, only then realizing that beneath his obedient demeanor, his eyes were filled with disdain for me. Disdain. A dull ache throbbed in my heart. Come to think of it, there were signs of this all along. Since Jack's first love Kathy got divorced and returned to City H a year ago, our son has changed. He often praises Kathy in front of me, talking about how amazing, carefree, and beautiful she is, completely unlike me, his same-aged mother who only knows how to busy herself with household chores. Although I used to feel a bit sad about it, I didn't think too much of it, assuming it was just a phase that all children go through as they grow up, but now I understand, clearly. He inherited Jack's inferior genes, born an ungrateful wretch, perhaps because he had never been so thoroughly ignored by me before. Tom grew somewhat angry. Are you deaf? What a nuisance. Why can't you be sensible like Aunt Kathy? I scoffed, treating his words as nothing more than a dog's bark. Jack and Kathy also walked over, initially showing disappointment, but the next second, they put on expressions of joy in perfect tacit understanding. Honey, thank goodness you're awake. I don't know how I could go on living without you, sis Rita. Thank goodness you're awake. It wasn't in vain that Jack and I prayed for you all night yesterday. Prayed? I'm afraid you're cursing me to die early. I cleared my throat. Thanks to your prayers, I've awakened an ability. Also, although you changed your ID age to be younger than mine, you're actually 3 years older than me. The title of elder sister is something I can't bear. Nor do I want to bear. Our commotion caught the attention of the survivors. After the apocalypse arrived, we were fortunate to be taken in by a base led by a superhuman. Since I had no special abilities, I was assigned to cook, clean, and do laundry for everyone in the base. I was responsible for the laundry of over 30 people. Jack and his son Tom were tasked with joining the team to search for food, while Kathy didn't have to do anything. I later found out that it was actually Jack and his father who made a deal with the leader, willing to exchange extra food they found for Kathy's comfortable life. My heart turned completely cold, but at the brink of life and death, I still couldn't abandon 20 years of familial bonds and went to find medicine for Jack. I always remember how he bustled about for me when my father had an accident, and I believe that even though the affection is gone, he would still save me in a life-or-death situation, because we are family. But now I really want to slap my foolish past self, who awakened the superpower. My wife, my mom, faced with the leader's inquiry, Jack and his father spoke in unison, treating me as their possession. I wasn't having it. I think people should maintain an appropriate distance from each other, especially you two whom I dislike. I suggest you stay as far apart as Yin and Yang. Leader, I have no connection to them. One wants a new wife, the other wants a stepmom. I can't handle that. Rita, your delusions are getting worse and worse. The doctor had almost cured you, but this apocalypse has turned you back into a patient. Kathy panicked, afraid I'd target her next. I knew she still wanted to flirt with the team leader who had special abilities, nearly 50 years old, yet still so experienced and wild. Team leader Harrison was a relatively principled man. He values loyalty and brotherhood. Originally, he didn't want to manage this base, but Keith, who once saved his life, is a good man who hopes to save everyone, so Harrison stayed. In his previous life, Harrison never gave Kathy a kind look, and everyone thought they had a terrible relationship, but strangely, he had an uncanny tolerance for Kathy. Once, when Kathy single-handedly ruined the food everyone had gathered from outside, Harrison still went against all opposition to keep her. Could they really have hooked up? In that case, I need to prove my worth, at least enough to make him hesitate to discard me for now. Boss, I can demonstrate my special ability for you right now. In my past life when the zombies attacked, we were abandoned during the base relocation because we had no special abilities, but this time, I have powers, and I'm determined to survive until the end. Watching that scumbag man, that bitch, and their ungrateful sons suffer worse than death. At the team leader's nod, I activated my powers on Jack. Unexpectedly, not only did his disgusting lower part disappear, but his mouth, asshole, belly button, and even his ears vanished too. No, ears will do. Punishment mission for 3 cheating scumbags, 1/3 completed. Upon full completion, ability will upgrade to LV2, enabling both organ disappearance and simultaneous ability theft from cheaters. The words flashed across my mind, for real. What kind of system is this? But no matter how much I called out in my heart, nothing responded to me. Jack touched the thing that had given him confidence, only to panic when he realized it was gone. He opened his mouth to curse me, only to find his mouth was gone too. Jack charged at me in rage, but was stomped to the ground by team leader Harrison, struggling helplessly and looking as pitiful as a dog. Kathy, just like in my past life, immediately distanced herself, but she put on a good show, not only squeezing out tears of concern but also making sure to trip me up. What have you done to Jack? He's the husband who took care of you for 20 years, how could you do this to him? Human nature is selfish, and the people around me began pointing fingers. Exactly, if she can do this to her own husband, who knows what she'd do to strangers like us? Zombies are already terrifying enough, and now we have to deal with this internal threat. How are we supposed to survive? Harrison's gaze toward me also grew more wary. The situation was turning against me. And even my ungrateful son shielded Kathy in front of her. According to my memories, the zombie horde would launch a surprise attack in just 1 hour. In their previous life, the foraging team brought back this news upon their return. The team had set out with 7 members, but only 1.5 returned. One of them had the ability to teleport, and with their last breath, they sent their final companion back to deliver the message before passing away, if I remember correctly. They should be returning in about 5 minutes. My special ability might help me vent my anger, but I'm not sure if it works on cheating zombies. But after enduring a lifetime of frustration in my past life, this time I just want to go crazy. Staring at the well-built team leader with his superhuman strength, I decided to act like a boss. My ability is to make others' feeding organs disappear, zombies included, but it can only be used once a day. I vaguely spoke a modified version of the truth. After all, Jack's mouth had indeed disappeared. The wariness in their eyes grew stronger, but in this apocalyptic world, those with abilities were coveted resources. Then how could you use your ability on your own people? Even your own husband wasn't spared. What about us strangers? Kathy's lackey No. 2 has spoken, a balding, lonely middle-aged man from the Mediterranean, who adores Kathy. The kind of stunning white lotus whose smile could topple cities. Did I finish speaking? Why are you yapping? Are you in such a hurry because you won't live to see tomorrow? Also, I was originally going to go after Kathy, who was happily with my husband last night, but then I thought, men are the real problem in these situations, so I dealt with him first. Kathy, you should be grateful you're a woman. After shutting down the balding man, I flashed Kathy a perfect 8-tooth smile. The next second, her trembling, delicate frame was completely shielded by my son Tom, who stepped forward. Good dog, what bad luck. I turned to face the team leader, Harrison. Boss, I've also awakened a precognitive ability. The zombie horde is coming soon. We need to evacuate immediately. You awakened 2 abilities. Absolutely impossible. The previous statement was made by team leader Harrison. The latter sentence was spoken by my dear son, dripping with obvious disdain, perhaps thinking I couldn't use my powers anymore today. Kathy leaned out and started bouncing around again. Sis Rita, awakening 1 ability is already rare enough. There's no need to lie just to gain our approval. Establishing a base isn't easy. This place is easily defensible, and we've sacrificed so many comrades to put down roots here. I know you hate me, and I've been avoiding you as much as possible. Spreading rumors about me is one thing, but why drag everyone else into this? Kathy's overly dramatic performance successfully cast doubt on me and turned everyone against me. The ungrateful son provoked, Mom, your jealousy of Kathy is really ugly. Rita, I can't risk everyone's lives based on just your word, Harrison concluded. The looks directed at me grew even more hostile, while Jack, prostrate on the ground, cast a smug smile my way. Oh. Forgot, even without external ears, a person can still hear sounds to some extent. I don't respond, counting sheep in my mind. The time is almost up. 2 bloodied figures suddenly materialized out of thin air in the crowd. The foraging team has returned. The one with the teleportation ability had already lost his left leg, with bite marks still visible on the remaining stump of his thigh. The one whose human form was still intact burst into wailing the moment he landed. Harrison, they're all dead. Keith used his last breath to send me back just to tell everyone, the zombies are coming. There are so many of them. they also have supernatural powers. Such a tragic scene, though I had witnessed it once in my previous life, still filled me with sorrow and admiration at this moment. Harrison had no time to spare for Jack at his feet. With reddened eyes, he quickly walked up to Keith. "Harrison, go, take everyone, survive," leaving his last words, seeing Harrison nod solemnly. Keith finally let out his last breath. Harrison gently closed Keith's eyes, then punched and crushed his head. This was to prevent Keith from turning into a zombie after death. Harrison restrained his emotions. "Everyone, move out. There are only 3 vehicles, a small open-top pickup truck, a modified 10-seater van, and a high-end off-road vehicle that exudes a strong sense of security. Seating capacity: 5 plus 10 plus 5 is equal to 20 seats. 5 people can also crouch in the back of a pickup truck, and 5 more can squeeze into the gaps of a bus, but everyone hopes to get a seat. The pickup truck is too exposed and unsafe, making it easy to have an intimate encounter with zombies. We have 39 people, now there are 38. Keith is dead, there will inevitably be 8 left. Jack was completely voted out." His dear Kathy shed affected tears and then abstained, her body honestly keeping far from Jack. With only a thin sheet of paper separating her from Tom, I watched Jack, whose face was ashen yet still filled with heartache as he gazed at Kathy, hopelessly lovesick. "Don't let him enjoy being mistreated," I frowned and snapped at Kathy. "If you're so reluctant, why don't you stay and keep him company? If that's what you want, I'll make sure you stay. No one else's opinion matters." I looked at Tom, speaking vaguely, and both Tom and Jack cast angry glances my way. However, there was a hint of expectation in Jack's eyes. After all, the special ability I was displaying now was a coveted treasure in everyone's eyes. Kathy was also someone who knew how to read the room. Perhaps thinking Jack was completely deaf, she slightly revealed her true nature. "Since he's like this now, it's better to just put him out of his misery. Rita, there's really nothing between us. We're just like neighbors, like brother and sister. Please stop targeting me." Watching the shock in Jack's eyes turn to pain, then to hatred, I'm satisfied. That's the way it should be. None of them are virtuous men or women, yet they insist on pretending to be invincible with true love. Who are they trying to disgust? Your suggestion is excellent. I've decided to keep you here to give him a quick end. Rita, how can you be so cruel? If you're keeping Kathy here, I'll stay with her too. When Jack was still holding up, Tom called Kathy Auntie, but when Jack was no longer around, Auntie directly became Kathy. TSK, I shot him a glare. "Leader Harrison, now we're short by 3, with 5 still left to go. Mom, you..." Tom finally showed a hint of panic, realizing I was serious this time. No longer the free nanny he could boss around. The surrounding whispers seemed so insignificant. Time was running out, and the zombie horde was about to attack. Harrison had to make a quick decision. As expected, he once again picked the 5 troublemakers who had caused chaos in his past life. In his past life, Kathy had willingly followed Jack, though Harrison had originally planned to take her with him. What about this life? And you've lost supplies 3 times. Faced with the woman's pleas for mercy, Harrison showed no leniency. In just 5 minutes, Harrison finalized the number of people boarding and included Kathy. My gaze shifted between him and Kathy. Tom looked at me, softening his tone. "Mom, I'm still so young. I want to live." A mother can't bear to see her son's pleading eyes. If it were in my past life, I would have protected him with my life. That is, if I hadn't discovered he was a completely ungrateful wretch. "So you think your life is more precious than mine? Didn't you always say I gave birth to you without your permission? Now you can start over. And wasn't it you who said I was vicious? Go beg your kind Aunt Kathy then." Blood ties made it impossible for me to take direct revenge on him. "It's best we part ways here." Tom's gaze turned completely hateful. Just as I was about to get in the car, the abandoned one, fueled by resentment, launched a counterattack, wanting to drag a few more down with them. Seeing the other person suddenly pull out a gun and aim it at Harrison, pulling the trigger, I instinctively tackled Harrison while using my special ability. "Watch out." Harrison reacted quickly, holding me as we rolled twice, and the next second he swiftly charged forward and efficiently took down the 2 shooters with combat skills. Wow, so cool. Subconsciously, I looked around for Tom and found him shamelessly using his father as a human shield. Truly a heartwarming display of father-son affection. It must be Jack's genes at fault, not my failed parenting. Punish 3 cheating scumbags. Mission completed. Ability upgraded to LV2. Next time, you can simultaneously steal the opponent's ability. The bold black characters flashed through my mind again. Fortune favors the unprepared. Those two turned out to be cheaters as well, though shocking. The fact that they were men made it seem almost expected. The mouths of the two men Harrison KO'd didn't disappear, but as for the rest, I'd rather not look. Having too many postures is not necessarily a good thing. I remained calm. This act could still be kept up. No one noticed I had used my special ability. Harrison, watch out, Kathy shouted from inside the car, her tone far more genuinely concerned than any worry she'd ever shown for Jack. Turns out there were 3 family members of the rebels in the cars coordinating together, each occupying a separate vehicle with guns in hand. Kathy was right there in the car. No wonder the emotions felt so raw. She was in trouble herself. The hostages in the van could either wait and see, maintaining the flexibility of a fence-sitter, or scream without fear of attracting zombies. Among these 3, it seems one has a defensive-type superpower. I'm itching to give it a try. What if she also cheats? And it seems Harrison really cares about Kathy. I can take the initiative to swap with Kathy and also make Harrison owe me a favor. After all, he values loyalty the most. But before I could even turn on my mic, the 3 of them had already closed the door, started driving away, and were shouting from the car, "Harrison, if it weren't for Keith, who the hell do you think you are? We've had enough of you. Keith just left, and you're already purging dissidents. How heartless. If you ask me, you can just stay here and wait to die. We're taking this car." This plot is nothing like what I imagined. The growls of the zombies are getting closer. The zombie horde arrived half an hour early. Jack and his son actually managed to climb onto the pickup truck during the chaos. Damn it, was I reborn just to die again? I refused to accept this. Just as I was about to run, my feet suddenly left the ground. Harrison's strong arms wrapped around my body, lifting and turning me as he shifted me from his embrace to his back. Hold on tight. Before I could even react, I obediently nestled against him and tightened my arms around him. Harrison stood tall and steady, his strides firm as he struck down zombies with his hands, occasionally using a gentlemanly gesture to support my slipping body, all while running tirelessly toward the deeper, less populated parts of the park. Harrison and his group are truly impressive. They're nothing like my ungrateful son. His mother must be so proud, raising someone so responsible. I tightened my arms and legs, using my special ability on the zombies, doing my best not to hold him back, but it seems completely useless. Just as I was feeling dejected, suddenly a zombie lost its mouth and, yes, so the special ability really works on zombies. You're a bit heavy. My excitement was interrupted by Harrison's amused words. Sorry about that, boss, you can put me down now. There were no more zombies around. Sunlight filtered through the treetops, gently illuminating the quiet path. Just kidding, you're too light. Didn't the base assign you any food to eat? Harrison hoisted me up again and walked forward steadily. The rare tranquility made everyone gentler, but this topic reminded me of the unhappy days when I was worked like a horse at the base. If you don't want me to slap you, you'd better change the subject. After all, I was the one responsible for cleaning everyone's clothes at the base. I clearly arranged for Kathy and a few men to be with you, but the reality is I'm the only one doing the work. Your precious Kathy is living it up. And as for the men, they probably went hunting for food. Harrison fell silent. I didn't try to make conversation either. The 20-minute park effect had me entranced. How long had it been since I'd experienced such peaceful moments? Kathy is my mother. She had me during her student years and gave me up for adoption when I was about 5. Harrison's tone was unreadable, but his body was slightly tense. I hate her, yet I can't let go of my longing for a mother. I really envy Tom for having such a wonderful mother like you. And I also envy Jack for having such a great partner like you. They don't deserve you. If it were me, I would definitely cherish you. I listened quietly, feeling shocked and once again marveling at Kathy's good fortune. Such a wonderful son. I stroked Harrison's head, its fur glowing golden in the sunlight. Words felt too feeble then, but I hoped the gesture offered some comfort. At first glance, this towering figure seemed like a fierce wolfhound. But turns out he's just a golden retriever starved for affection. After fighting through hordes of zombies with Harrison for a week, I've gotten pretty handy with this baseball bat. Harrison's now willing to trust me with guarding his back, without hesitation, and I've also benefited a lot from Harrison's scavenging. The more zombies I killed, the larger the base became. Among the zombies, there were both men and women, and inevitably some who were immoral in life and coincidentally had also evolved special abilities. My abilities now include protective shield, lightning, temperature regulation, cell manipulation, and optical camouflage. I absolutely love cell manipulation. it allows me to control my own or others' cells, enabling division, repair, or mutation, finally achieving freedom in cosmetic procedures, looking at myself, restored to my pre-childbirth state. It's clear that staying single and child-free is indeed the best skincare regimen. Optical camouflage is also quite fascinating. It can alter the refractive index of light, making oneself visually disappear. When encountering zombies with this ability, Harrison and I really had a tough time. Fortunately, the abilities of lightning and temperature regulation can alter the environment in a small area, creating fog to reduce the effectiveness of optical camouflage. With Harrison's agility and strength combined with my protective shield, we finally managed to take down this invisible zombie. Harrison got quite a few bruises protecting me. While scolding him, I used my cell manipulation ability to help him recover quickly. I have my own defensive shield, and at worst, I can use cell manipulation to heal myself. You're the main fighter. Don't get distracted looking after me every time, it makes me feel pretty embarrassed, you know, trust me, kid. I'm not a kid, I'm 28, he looks quite young, didn't expect him to be almost 30, but caring about titles shows he's still a kid at heart. I mentally complained while continuing to treat him carefully, not missing even the smallest wound, but Harrison pressed my hand down, looking at me seriously with those golden retriever eyes. I'm 28, Sister Rita, don't call me boss anymore, call me Harrison. I withdrew my hand, suppressing the flicker of romantic thoughts. This was just how young people made friends, nothing more. You're 15 years older than him, almost old enough to be his ungrateful son. This trick really worked. Now Harrison just seems like a cute junior. Got it, little Harrison. Big sis, don't blush, it's too sunny, maybe it'll rain later and help wash me. There's a government-established safe zone to the south. These days, Harrison and I have tried surviving in the wilderness, but the creatures in the water have mutated. Not only are they inedible, but they might also eat us. Food storage is also a big problem. If only we could get the spatial ability Jack awakened in his past life. In the end, we still chose the urban route with more zombies and a longer distance, picking locks, keeping watch, scavenging for food, setting up temporary shelters. Harrison's survival skills are truly impressive. I've learned a lot of practical skills from him. As night fell, we drove a battered but still functional car through the abandoned city streets, searching for the path to the safe zone. I sat in the passenger seat, holding my hand out to Harrison, signaling him to take the reward. In my palm was a piece of chocolate I had found, originally intended to be enjoyed alone. I love good food and cooking. Over the years, Jack and his son have taken my care for granted, treating the prepared meals as their due, then nitpicking, leaving me to clean up afterward. But Harrison always sincerely thanks me before every meal, finishes everything on his plate, and looks as if he could still eat more. The plate was licked clean, which is the highest compliment to the cook. I feel like the broken pieces inside me are slowly being mended. As a reward, I won't keep this chocolate to myself. Harrison's eyes sparkled. Really, for me? Yes. Watch the road. Almost crashed into a zombie. Hurry up and take it, or I won't give it to you anymore. A bit annoyed, I was about to withdraw my hand when the warm, slightly damp sensation left my palm. Harrison directly took the food from my palm with his mouth. A subtle tension hung in the air as Harrison kept his eyes on the road, driving intently. Though the flush at his ears betrayed him, I quietly withdrew my hand, my heart already in turmoil. I was no longer an innocent young girl, and he was Kathy's son. I wasn't prepared for this sudden ambiguity between us. The car fell into silence as it jolted along a narrow bridge, the river below turbulent and raging from days of heavy rain. Just as we were about to leave the bridge, a car suddenly flashed its high beams into our eyes, then charged straight at us from the side. Watch out, I cried out, but it was already too late. The two vehicles collided violently with a deafening screech of twisted metal. Due to the impact, Harrison and I were thrown through the window. Fortunately, I activated my protective shield ability just in time, allowing us to land safely, albeit with a close call. A familiar figure walked into the headlights ahead. It was Jack. His mouth bore a horrifying knife scar, as if it had been forcibly slit open. Wife, long time no see. With a mouth, his voice could now function normally. The air was thick with tension and unease. Harrison and I exchanged glances, silently preparing ourselves in perfect sync. Jack, she and Harrison are about to flank you from both sides. Rita is preparing to use her lightning ability. Kathy's voice rang out from the side. Dressed in a form-fitting skirt and high heels, she stepped gracefully out of the car with a sway in her hips. Even in this resource-scarce post-apocalyptic world, her makeup remained impeccably flawless. For a fleeting moment, I almost believed the world had returned to normal. "I never thought I'd live to see you again, Rita. And I certainly didn't expect to awaken the ability to read minds. Also, both Ah Ming and Jack have awakened their own abilities. Your actions before really hurt their feelings, Rita." Suddenly, several mutated vines burst from the ground, restraining my hands and feet. Tom commanded the vines to tighten their grip, lifting me high into the air to maintain a safe distance. "Sorry, Rita, but you really hurt Jack last time. We're just protecting ourselves. I don't understand why you're so hostile toward me. I just came to join this family. You're not going to call me the other woman, are you? Because if we're talking about who came first, you're actually the one who arrived later." They even figured out that the range of my ability is within a 5-meter radius. Kathy has telepathy. Tom awakened plant-based superpowers. Could Jack's ability still be spatial manipulation? I looked at Harrison, who was also suspended in the air. Trying to clear my cluttered thoughts, "Mom, if you could apologize to us, Dad and I would let bygones be bygones. Dad still loves you, love." I glanced at Jack, who was feigning deep affection, and the admiration in his eyes. More likely, he had lost his confidence as a man and couldn't regain his vigor in front of Kathy, so he wanted me, the younger-looking, gullible one, to pick up the pieces. Tom just wanted a free nanny too. I silently repeated in my heart that I love then. "I want to apologize. They're amazing. Kathy is amazing. Damn Kathy, that idiot. It's you who should be apologizing." In a critical moment, you and your father abandoned Rita. Before that, it was you who were close to Kathy, deceiving and betraying Rita. Clearly, you were the ones who destroyed your own family first. What gives you the right to act so superior? Am I right? Professional 2+1's mom. Harrison just dropped a bombshell. Kathy, is he calling you? Tom was a bit confused. And Jack also looked at Kathy in shock. Such a big son. The simp was shocked. The simp was furious. After all, doing the math, didn't Kathy have a child at just 18 years old? That would mean right after starting college. Although Jack and Kathy met in high school, Jack didn't start dating Kathy until his freshman year of college, having idolized her like a goddess before that. Physical disability and shattered illusions twisted Jack's expression as he tightly gripped Kathy's hand. "You clearly said your first time would be mine, yet you already have a child. How many more things have you lied to me about?" Tom appears much more magnanimous. After all, he's just a newly adult child, since he doesn't need his father's support anyway, and he can accept his father's relationship with Kathy. Naturally, he wouldn't mind having an older sibling. Tom pushes Jack aside and pulls the frightened Kathy into his arms, comforting her protectively. "Sis, Dad can't handle it, but I can. I only feel heartache for you, sis." Such a soap opera-like melodrama had me internally shouting, "Fight, fight." But Kathy, as if hearing some inner voice, suddenly changed her expression, overcome with maternal love. "Harrison, how could you like Rita, that old woman?" My heart skipped a beat as I caught Harrison blushing and stealing glances at me. "She could be your mother." "I disagree. I can't accept this." Kathy was going crazy. And although I also felt a bit uneasy about Harrison liking me, seeing Kathy upset suddenly made me feel good. "Too bad your son likes me. Want me to call you mother-in-law?" Kathy went even crazier, crying her heart out, so distraught she couldn't even keep her balance in high heels. Jack suddenly locked eyes with me. "You too? How could you betray me? You must love me. Hate me. There can only be me in your heart, no betrayals. It's all because of this Harrison." "Tom, kill him." "Kathy, Tom, how dare you? He's my only child." "Tom, I won't touch him." "Kathy, your child is my child. Then should I call you Dad from now on?" Everyone's gone mad. Harrison kept talking to provoke them, then gave me a knowing glance, and I immediately understood. Amid the chaos, I used my lightning ability to break free from the vines. Then immediately activated my optical camouflage to turn invisible. I quickly darted to Jack's side and used my ability on him again. Thankfully, it still worked. The identity of infidelity cannot be washed clean. The mouth that was forcibly torn apart has been sewn shut again. I sensed the spatial ability that had manifested on me. Realizing his spatial ability wasn't limited to just 3 people's space, it was much larger and wider, at least 10 square meters in size. In my previous life, Jack deliberately wanted to kill me. During the car crash just now, he was specifically targeting me in the passenger seat. Kathy and Tom noticed something was wrong, but unfortunately, it was already too late. I risked my life to fetch anti-inflammatory medicine from a pharmacy overrun by zombies and took care of Jack all night without rest. I'm too, Kathy, Rita, you vicious woman, you just can't stand to see me happy. Tom held the distraught Kathy, shouting into the air like a headless fly. I materialized, activated my shield, and delivered several loud slaps to Tom's face. Naturally, would you be kind to the parasite sucking your life away? Thank you for making me understand that indecision invites disaster. I'm happy when you're miserable. From now on, steer clear of me when you see me, or I'll beat you up every time we meet. Harrison and I set out on the road to the safe zone again. Jack and Kathy lost their supernatural abilities and could no longer maintain their previous composure, while Tom, being so selfish, would undoubtedly abandon Jack first. An ordinary person wouldn't survive long in the apocalypse. Kathy could only live by depending on others. Having lost her normal body, she saw Tom as her only anchor, and their roles were reversed. Tom became the dominant one, but how long could Tom, with his supernatural abilities, sustain this love? Later, it was said that Kathy killed Tom in his sleep because she couldn't bear his disdain and betrayal, but those people and things are no longer worth keeping in my heart. As for Harrison's feelings, I can't respond to them. Our relationship is too complicated, with those three grating individuals standing between us. I can't take that step. Looking at the miserable state of the survivors along the way, my heart grew heavier. If possible, I wish I could restore this world to normal. Harrison maintained a careful distance, staying close but not too close by my side. Harrison and I reached the safe zone, joining the government's plan to save the world, continuously searching for survivors. The sun rose, dispelling the gloom of the night. I believe normal days will come sooner or later. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, let's continue to see another similar story. I was reborn 1 week before the zombie outbreak. At that time, I had just finished handling my adoptive mother's funeral and was taken back to the Frank family as the true heiress, but they didn't love me at all. They only intended to use me as a tool for a political marriage. However, the fake heiress Florence resented me, believing my arrival would steal her parents' affection and divide her inheritance. Under the pretense of a relaxing vacation, she abandoned me on a deserted island to die. In my previous life, after enduring 6 months of wilderness survival, a crashed helicopter fell onto this island, and several zombies crawled out from it. That was when I learned that a zombie outbreak had erupted outside. With almost no tools at hand, I contracted the disease and died within just a year, never receiving any rescue or knowing whether the crisis outside had been resolved. Given a second chance at life, I naturally won't repeat the same mistakes. So when she offered to take me on a vacation to a deserted island, I put on an excited expression, grabbed her hand enthusiastically, and said, "That's fantastic, it's my first time going out with a sister, can we bring more stuff? We could stay there a bit longer." Seeing how easily I took the bait, she was delighted too, saying I could bring whatever I wanted and the sooner we prepared, the sooner we could leave. I hesitated and said, "Sis, I don't have much money and can't prepare much. Won't this trip cost you a lot? If that's the case, maybe I shouldn't go." This made her anxious, and she immediately shoved one of her cards into my hand, telling me to prepare freely and not feel embarrassed. Going was absolutely non-negotiable. If she could, she'd be more than happy to send me away tomorrow. I'm also in a hurry. I must prepare enough tools for survival on a deserted island before the apocalypse breaks out. What I need to do now is stockpile, buy rice, flour, water, meat, vegetables, medicine, seeds, clothes, buy a freezer, water tanks, computers, hard drives, generators, solar panels, buy a car, knives, chainsaws, helmets, armor. With a grand gesture, I listed out a scroll dozens of meters long. Then, while frantically downloading TV shows, variety programs, anime, and games onto my hard drive, I called my childhood friend and boyfriend, Bruce. He was the only person I could trust at the moment. We grew up together, childhood sweethearts, you could say. He's smart, highly skilled with his hands, and truly a rare talent in these apocalyptic times. In my previous life, I had called him before heading to the deserted island. We had made a pact to resist his parents' forced arranged marriage together. I don't know what happened to him after the apocalypse, but it doesn't matter now. I'll bring him along. Bruce's parents passed away a few years ago, and he's all alone now, with no attachments. It's actually liberating. I handed him the list and told him to prepare everything within 5 days, then rent a boat to transport all the supplies to that deserted island. He was puzzled about why I was doing this. I just said I'd explain later. Time was of the essence. To put it simply, no time to explain. Grab the supplies and get to the island fast. These past few days, Bruce has been handling the stockpiling, while I've been busy downloading our spiritual sustenance on the computer, and, of course, going on a wild spending spree at various restaurants. Others who reincarnate into the apocalypse come with their own storage spaces, able to pack away tens of thousands of dishes, all 8 major cuisines neatly stored inside, but I have no such space, so I can only weep as I devour 3 big bowls of rice. It's so delicious, I wish I had 4 stomachs. I stuffed several more suitcases with snacks, clothes, and a box of survival gear for the wilderness, giving Florence the impression that I couldn't wait to live in the wild for a long time. The days soon arrived when Florence took me to the island. Wow, sis, look, the mountains and waters here are so beautiful, it's perfect for seclusion. The 2 sisters affectionately linked arms with me and were about to lead me deep into the mountains. As I walked alongside her, I couldn't help but marvel. Yes, Florence, you're amazing. How did you find this place? Florence deftly avoided a branch that nearly brushed her arm and said calmly, I spotted it by chance while out playing in a helicopter. If you like it, sister, we can come here often in the future. I chuckled to myself, I've already settled here directly. You might not even get the chance to come back. In my previous life, she never came back until I died of illness. I don't know if she died or simply never intended to come, I said. Florence, I always thought you were a pampered young lady who wouldn't lift a finger, but I never expected you'd be into wilderness survival. Yeah, I love it, she replied, her face still pale from the fright of seeing a caterpillar moments earlier. She was clearly terrified yet still tried to trick me. Honestly, she's the death of me. I suddenly felt a strong urge to mess with her a little, as payback for her mischievous intentions. Florence, let's go further in. We might come across some cute little animals. I enthusiastically pulled her arm, leading her deeper into the mountains. From what I remembered, there was a snake den not far ahead. Though they looked scary, they were all non-venomous. Back then, I even caught and roasted some to eat. No salt, but the texture wasn't bad, enough to scare Florence out of her wits. I dragged Florence along, the poor girl unaware of what she was about to face, when I lifted the rock, revealing a tangled mass of snakes beneath. Florence's scream nearly pierced my eardrums. Watching her utterly terrified gave me an indescribable thrill. All right, Florence, look how scared you are. This snake isn't venomous. Before I could finish my sentence, she screamed and ran away. Watching her stumbling figure disappear into the forest, I clicked my tongue in dismay. Seems like her plan to ditch me tonight is getting moved up. I looked down at the snakes, all poised to attack after being disturbed, and silently put the rock back in place. Be good now, I'll come find you when I'm short on food. I wandered around the mountain a few more times, gathering some firewood, to make me feel like this was truly a place for a worry-free vacation. Florence even specially built a small wooden cabin on the island, although it had no water, electricity, food, or medicine, and nothing but a bed. It was still a pretty good shelter, thanks to this little cabin. I managed to survive for a year. In my previous life, I would collapse and sleep after getting tired, and Florence would leave while I was asleep. When I woke up, I was the only one left on the island, so what I'm going to do tonight is pretend to sleep and leave first, then start my shelter construction plan after Florence is gone. Zombies fear fire but not water, so we can't rule out the possibility of them reaching the island by following ocean currents, at least in my previous life. No additional zombies came to the island before I died, so it's probably safe, but we shouldn't let our guard down. It's 4 p.m. now, and just as I was about to head back, I heard the sound of a helicopter. It looks like they came early to pick her up, carrying the firewood. I slowly walked toward the cabin and indeed saw Florence standing in the clearing, waiting for the helicopter. She must have noticed no one was inside and wanted to leave before I returned from the forest. I didn't go out but instead hid behind a tree. Hurry up and leave, so I can start building my home. As I thought this, I watched the helicopter in the sky wobbling unsteadily as it approached. Wait, wobbling? This scene was just like the plane crash back then. I thought to myself, this is bad. Has the zombie virus outbreak started earlier than expected? Florence remained completely unaware as she eagerly walked forward. The helicopter slowly descended in front of her, but its cabin door remained shut. When no one opened the door after a long wait, Florence grew impatient. She stepped forward and forcefully knocked on the cabin window, shouting, "What's going on? Open the door already." In an instant, a bloodied and mangled face appeared on the cabin door's glass. Florence was separated from that face by just a pane of glass. When her eyes met its empty, pupilless whites, she was immediately terrified into screaming and collapsed to the ground. Then a second mutated face pressed against the window. Without a doubt, both helicopter pilots had turned into zombies. Florence was on the verge of fainting from terror, scrambling backward on all fours. Help, help, there's a monster. Watching the cabin door being battered by two zombies, teetering on the brink, I didn't have time to search for a weapon. I grabbed a long wooden stick and charged out. The cabin door might hold for a few more minutes, but I couldn't afford to hesitate. I thrust the stick fiercely toward the helicopter's fuel tank. Fuel gushed out in a torrent, and I shouted at Florence, "Quick, give me the lighter," but she was already petrified with fear and didn't respond to my words at all. Helpless, I had to run to her side and, after some fumbling around, managed to fish out a lighter from her pocket. "Here goes." I lit the lighter and hurled it at the helicopter with all my might. The lighter traced an arc through the air before landing squarely on the helicopter's body. The helicopter instantly caught fire, erupting into a series of boom-boom explosions that sent debris flying in all directions. Florence was hit in the head by debris, let out a scream, and passed out. Listening to the growls of the zombies and the flames gradually weaken, I finally relaxed. At the same time, the confusion and anxiety in my heart kept growing. Why had the person who came to pick up Florence turned into a zombie? Has the virus outbreak started early? There's no signal on the island. How did Florence contact a helicopter to pick her up? Bruce hasn't left yet. Will he be okay? Florence is now forced to stay on the island too. What should I do? The helicopter was quickly burned down to just a skeleton. The acrid smell of burning rushed straight into my nostrils. I took off my coat and covered my nose and mouth. After confirming that the helicopter wouldn't explode again, I slowly approached it. The two zombies had turned into charred corpses. I put on the protective gloves I had prepared and searched through their remains, but as expected, I found nothing useful. I could only wait for Florence to wake up and see if she could provide any clues. Now the virus might break out early, and I don't know if Bruce can still come to the island as promised. There's no signal here at all. We're completely cut off from the outside world. By now, it was already dusk. Realizing nightfall was approaching, I hurried back into the woods to gather firewood. With the experience from my past life, starting a fire was no longer a challenge for me. As the campfire blazed and I was skillfully grilling fish, Florence finally woke up. She looked around in confusion, then remembered the scene she had witnessed before losing consciousness and let out another scream. At this point, I have no interest in playing along with her act anymore. Stop shouting, it's annoying. In my previous life, I didn't interact with her much, but when I was abandoned on the island, I just thought she was stupid and malicious. This time around, I might have to live with her on the island for a long time, and I really don't want to spend extended periods with someone like her. The thought of Bruce's uncertain fate completely ruined my mood, seeing my terrifyingly dark expression. Florence trembled and fell silent. I asked her directly, "What's the deal with that helicopter? There's no signal on the island. How did they arrive early, and how did the people who came to pick you up turn into zombies?" It took her a long time to understand what the word zombies meant. Staring at the helicopter burned to its frame and the two charred corpses nearby, she fought back the urge to vomit and spoke haltingly. No, I don't know. I have a satellite phone to contact the outside. Originally, I planned to have them pick me up at night after you fell asleep, but I couldn't stay any longer, so I told them to come this afternoon." After saying this, she suddenly realized that her plan to abandon me on the island had been exposed. I sneered, "Did you really think I wouldn't notice your little scheme?" Seeing her plan uncovered, she became flustered and, for a moment, even forgot the fear brought by the zombies. She jumped up and started yelling at me, "It's all your fault. Violet, if it weren't for you, I would be Mom and Dad's only daughter." She pointed at me angrily, "You stole all the love that was meant for me alone. I wish you would just disappear. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be stuck in this godforsaken place." I grabbed a long wooden stick nearby and thrust it hard into her stomach. She let out a scream and fell to her knees, clutching her stomach. "Don't blame everything on me, Mr. Fan has long wanted to use me as a tool for political marriage. They treat you the same way, only valuing benefits and not caring about family ties. Only you would believe they genuinely love you." After saying this, I casually placed the wooden stick on the ground. "Where's your satellite phone? At a time like this, aren't you going to call your parents?" Florence was seething with anger, but after being hit by me, she didn't dare to resist and obediently took out the phone to start dialing. Several attempts in a row, but none of the calls went through. Unable to reach her parents, Florence started calling her friends. Without exception, none of the calls went through. Her face turned pale. How could this be? Everything was fine this afternoon. Irritated, I rubbed my temples and reached out to her. Give it to me. Seeing her reluctance to hand it over, I simply grabbed the phone and started calling Bruce. Somewhat unexpectedly, the call didn't go through. I tried calling other friends, but no luck. I dialed the rescue number, still no response. After multiple unsuccessful attempts, I returned the satellite phone to Florence. She didn't try calling again and began crying softly. No, it must be the phone that's broken. Mom and Dad must be fine. They'll definitely come to save me. I got up from the ground, brushing the dust off my clothes. All right, stop crying. If you still have energy, take the night watch. I'm going back to sleep. She looked at my calm expression, surprised, then began to accuse me again. How can you be so indifferent? Don't you care about Mom and Dad at all? Care? They treated me like a tool. Why should I worry about them? I didn't stop walking and headed straight for the cabin. Wait, she grabbed my hand. This cabin was prepared by me in advance. I should be the one sleeping in the bed. I irritably shook off her hand. Then I wish you sweet dreams, princess. I wasn't planning to sleep tonight anyway. Having her keep watch is something I'd never trust. Besides, I'm genuinely worried about Bruce and can't sleep at all. Watching Florence enter the house and close the door, I settled back down by the fire, staring at the endless horizon of the sea. I knew tonight was destined to be a sleepless night. Surprisingly, just as dawn began to break, I spotted a ship slowly approaching on the horizon. It appeared to be carrying quite a bit of cargo, moving at a sluggish pace, but it was unmistakably heading toward this island. My heart pounded as I watched the ship draw nearer. Finally, I could make out the figure on the bow. It was Bruce. Tears of joy streamed down my face. I quickly lowered my head to wipe them away with my sleeve, then sprinted desperately toward the shore. It was a fairly large fishing boat, loaded with everything I needed. Bruce stopped the boat, jumped off, and embraced me tightly. Only then did I notice how disheveled he looked. His jacket torn at the shoulder, dried blood staining his clothes. My heart clenched with worry, and I immediately asked, "Are you hurt?" He shook his head. "No, this blood isn't mine." Suddenly, a burst of barking interrupted my thoughts. Following the sound, I saw a large, fierce-looking dog with messy fur jump down from the boat. I was startled, but the big dog showed no signs of aggression. It hung its head low and quietly walked over to sit beside us. Bruce looked somewhat sorrowful. "This is Uncle James's dog, named Yellow. He told me that actually yesterday afternoon, he had already loaded all the supplies onto the rented boat, just waiting to depart this morning as scheduled. However, that evening while having dinner with the boat owner, Uncle James, the zombie virus outbreak occurred. They were at the dock restaurant at the time, and Bruce immediately realized that my stockpiling supplies to go to the island was to escape the zombies. So he rushed with Uncle James straight to the boat. The journey was chaotic, but they managed to board the boat safely. However, many people were also running toward the boats, trying to flee and escape the zombies. Bruce and his group moved quickly and reached the dock first, with zombies and fleeing people chasing close behind. Uncle James frantically raised the anchor, while Bruce cut the mooring ropes and helped start the engine. Just then, the crowd and the horde of zombies surged forward. They weren't afraid of water at all, scrambling to climb onto the boat. In the chaos, Uncle James was dragged into the water before he could react. Bruce quickly reached out to pull him back, but it was too late. Uncle James had been bitten hard. Yellow, desperate to save his master, also jumped into the water, but Uncle James mustered all his strength and threw Yellow back onto the boat. "Go!" Uncle James shouted with his last breath, kicking the boat hard. Unable to bear watching any longer, Bruce, tears in his eyes, slashed down a zombie climbing onto the boat, tightly held the barking Yellow with one arm, and sailed away from the dock. He couldn't calm his emotions the entire way, and Yellow seemed to sense what had happened. Lying beside Bruce and whimpering with tears, the man and the dog leaned on each other for comfort, and it wasn't until this morning when he saw the deserted island that he managed to pull himself together a little. I remained silent, and after listening to his story, I quietly embraced him. I couldn't imagine staying composed if such a terrifying scene from the movies happened in real life. Even more unimaginable was watching someone who had just been eating with you moments ago being devoured by zombies right before your eyes. So all I can do is stay by your side. I crouched down again and patted Yellow's head. It twitched its nose and started sniffing my scent. I said, "I will definitely protect you well." Bruce and I began unloading supplies from the boat. As we worked, I told him everything about the rebirth incident in detail, including yesterday's emergency situation and Florence being forced to stay on the island. He asked me, "How do you plan to get along with her?" Actually, I really wanted to drive her away directly, leaving her to fend for herself on the island and taste the suffering of my previous life. But should I really leave her to fend for herself? I couldn't bring myself to do the same as she did. For a moment, my emotions were quite complicated. Bruce stood by my side, putting his arm around my shoulder. "Violet, whatever choice you make, I'll support you," I sighed and finally decided, as long as she doesn't provoke me, I'll try to get along with her peacefully for now. If she dares to resist, I'll throw her into the mountains. Anyway, he can't beat me. I can take her on with a 90% chance of winning. I punched her straight to the underworld. Of course, Bruce could also take her on with a 3-7 split. He threw 3 punches, and she was gone by the 7th day. When Florence emerged from the small wooden cabin with massive dark circles under her eyes, she saw the 2 of us and a dog, covered in dust, building a spiked barricade. We spent the entire morning working non-stop, unloading all the supplies from the boat, then finding a suitable spot to bury those 2 charred-smelling zombies. After that, we rushed back to set up barricades without even having time to wash our faces. Florence was utterly shocked by the sudden appearance of a massive pile of supplies. She jogged over to us and asked, "What on earth is going on here?" I gave her a brief explanation. "This is my boyfriend, Bruce. Since you wanted to abandon me on this island to fend for myself, I played along and had him bring some essentials for our little vacation. Who knew we'd coincidentally run into a zombie outbreak? Honestly, we owe you thanks for providing such a perfect, isolated shelter." The remark was meant to be sarcastic, but she actually became smug about it. "Then you should all be thanking me properly. If it weren't for me, you'd have all been eaten by zombies by now." Bruce and I glared at her simultaneously, and she immediately fell silent, intimidated. "Florence, if I hadn't saved you yesterday, you'd have been eaten by zombies by now. We went to deal with the bodies early this morning, moved supplies, and later we'll set traps and expand the base. What about you? What are you planning to do?" "Honestly, I don't feel comfortable making her work, but we can't just let her stay idle either." Seeing Florence hesitate, I pointed to the plastic bucket and travel backpack nearby. "Go gather firewood and fetch a few buckets of water. I've drawn you a map and packed food in the backpack. Don't worry, there are no wild beasts in this part of the forest." She immediately got upset. "You want me to do all this heavy labor?" I stood up, looking down at her from above. "So can you cook?" She lowered her head guiltily. "No." I asked again, "Can you boil water?" She shook her head. "Me? Then do you want to eat? Do you want to take a hot bath?" She nodded immediately. I punched her on the shoulder. "Then hurry up and go. Are you just going to sit there waiting for me to serve you?" Clutching her shoulder, she didn't dare ask any more questions and left with the items in hand. I then said to Yellow, "Yellow, go keep an eye on her. When you come back, I'll give you a ton of bone broth." Yellow barked cheerfully a few times and trotted along after them. In the afternoon, we began organizing the supplies. The cabin was small and couldn't hold much. Fortunately, according to the forecasted days ahead, it wouldn't rain for the next week. What we needed to do in the coming days was build an elevated storage shed. I drew up the blueprint for the shelter's construction, and soon after, Bruce also went into the forest. I stayed behind, followed the tutorial to set up the generator, and then stored all the perishable food like vegetables and meat in the freezer. As for staples like rice, flour, oil, and such, those could be dealt with later. Bruce made several trips back and forth with a cart full of soil, while Florence didn't return until dusk, covered in dirt and carrying a bucket of water. I was quite dissatisfied with her efficiency, having only fetched 1 bucket of water. But she complained pitifully that the mountain path was exhausting, and she had to gather firewood too, which had left her hands blistered. I was speechless. "Miss, do you still think you're some delicate young lady?" I gave her a fierce look and told her that if she didn't fetch enough water, she'd have to make do with just a towel to clean herself tonight, and if she couldn't gather enough firewood, instant noodles would be our only dinner. To be honest, for Bruce and me, this was hardly a big deal, but Florence, having been raised with privilege, couldn't bear to hear such things. She immediately burst into tears, promising to try harder next time. I couldn't be bothered with her and just cooked some instant noodles for myself. With Yellow around, we don't have to worry about keeping watch at night. Florence insisted on sleeping in the bed, while Bruce and I set up a double bed beside it, snuggling together sweetly. How wonderful, a happy life with 2 people and a dog. If only there wasn't this third wheel. In the following days, We worked methodically every day to build the shelter. The storage warehouse was already completed, and the water reservoir and farm were taking shape. Bruce even found time to set up a stove with a rain shelter, forming a simple kitchen. The barricades were also finished. As long as it wasn't a large-scale zombie horde, we could hold our ground. We work out whenever we have free time, following online tutorial videos to learn combat techniques, which helps us better defend against zombies. Surprisingly, Florence hasn't caused any trouble these past few days. It's as if she's a completely different person, diligently doing her work every day. When a wicked woman is quiet, she's definitely up to no good. I assigned Yellow to guard the warehouse where we store our supplies. Sure enough, at night, we heard its furious barking and Florence's screams. "Ah, damn dog, get away." Bruce and I got up to look, only to see Florence being knocked down by Yellow, with several packs of instant noodles scattered around her. When she saw me coming, Florence shouted at me, "Violet, get your crazy dog away from me." "All right." I picked up a stick and walked over. "Yellow, let her go. You shouldn't just bite any piece of shit you see." Yellow stomped on Florence twice with his paws and returned to my side. I then raised the wooden stick and mercilessly jabbed it at her shoulder. "Speak up, what do you want?" Seeing that Florence refused to answer, I raised the stick again. I'll talk. Florence fearfully raised her hands to shield her face. "I want to leave here and go back to find my dad," I sneered. "Are you out of your mind?" She flew into a rage. "You're the one who's crazy. How dare you think of living here forever? Let me tell you, Violet, I'm not like you. I'm the only true heiress of the Frank family, while you're just an unwanted good-for-nothing." I swung my stick at her. As she screamed and rolled on the ground, she still stubbornly retorted, "I want to go back. My father is so powerful. He can definitely protect me. I refuse to live like a primitive here with all of you." Her words actually made me laugh. "Want to leave? Fine." I swung the stick at her again. "Then don't take our food. And how do you plan to get out? By boat? Forget whether you can even operate it. This boat is ours. You have no right to board it." "I have money." "It's just a lousy boat." "I'll buy it, lady. It's the apocalypse. Who cares about your money? Whether you'll even live to spend it is another question." Unexpectedly, Florence had a sudden burst of intelligence. Pointing at the supplies behind me, she shouted, "Where did you get so much money? You must have bought all this with my money. So these are all my things. Give them back to me." "Oh ho, not completely stupid after all." Crossing my arms, I looked at her with disdain. "Florence, you brought this upon yourself by tricking me into coming to this island. I merely turned the tables on you, and you, the instigator, now reaping what you sowed. What right do you have to negotiate with me? You wanted me to fend for myself, so it shouldn't matter if I want you dead, right?" Her face turned pale with fear. What do you mean?" I pointed to the forest behind me. "Didn't you want to leave? Go gather materials yourself and build a boat to get out. If I catch you stealing supplies again, I'll beat you up every time I see you." Afraid she wouldn't leave, I added, "If you beg me now, I might still be willing to spare you some food." "Fine, I'm leaving. Who needs you anyway? Who do you think you are?" She was indeed provoked, pointing at me and shouting, "I'm better than you in every way. Just you wait. One day you'll be kneeling on the ground begging me." After saying that, she ran away. "Who can't talk tough?" I shouted at her retreating figure. "Don't get bitten to death by a snake." Watching her stumble, I burst into laughter. "That's it. Life without Florence has been exceptionally comfortable," and before I knew it, half a year had passed. I sat in the open space, staring blankly at the sky, counting the days. The plane crash was scheduled for today. From what I remember, it was a private jet. When it crashed, everyone on board turned into zombies. 5 people in total, 4 men and 1 woman, in my previous life. I was terrified by the zombies. While dodging and dealing with them, I noticed the plane was leaking fuel. Before I could salvage the remaining supplies inside, it exploded. It was from one of the male zombies' phones that I found his digital diary, which revealed the entire process of the zombie virus outbreak. In this lifetime, if we can prevent the plane from exploding, we might uncover more information. The time of the crash is approaching. Bruce and I are fully covered from head to toe, each holding a crowbar, ready to spring into action. From the moment the zombies appear until the plane explodes, we'll have half an hour. We need to act fast. Bruce nods. Both of us are tense as we watch a plane trailing black smoke wobble closer in the sky, heading straight for the island where we're standing. Amidst the billowing black smoke, 5 twisted figures of zombies emerged. Bruce and I exchanged a glance before charging forward with crowbars in hand. We had both learned from zombie movies, first break their legs, then smash their skulls. I rushed up to one zombie, shattering its kneecap with a single strike. As it crumpled to its knees, I brought the crowbar down hard on its head. One hit wasn't enough, then two. In less than 5 minutes, the two of us had taken down 5 zombies. Without time to clean off the bloodstains, we dashed into the wreckage of the plane. The radio was no longer functional, sparks were flying from the dashboard. And all systems had failed. Finding no clues in the cockpit, we moved to the passenger cabin to search, dragging out a few scattered suitcases. There was also a broken camera. I checked it. Fortunately, the memory card was still usable. We searched carefully all around, even wanting to tear open the cushions to check. After confirming that nothing was left behind, we finally returned, satisfied, of course. We also dragged back the bodies of those 5 zombies to burn and bury them. We returned to the shelter and began organizing the new clues we had obtained. The man's phone recorded how, after the zombie outbreak, he survived for a long time on stockpiled supplies at home. Later, he ventured out to find food and encountered an action team. The survivors formed a group and established a shelter, but the city had already fallen. They were assigned to fly a plane to search for habitable islands at sea. From his description, it seems someone boarded the plane after being infected, which led to everyone's death. We went through a few more people's luggage and gathered some information about the survivors. Currently, almost all urban areas in the human world have fallen, leaving only remote mountainous regions and some offshore islands where shelters have been built. Moreover, it's not just humans that have mutated, animals have too. Most marine life has also mutated, making sea travel extremely dangerous. This is why they took the plane to search for new islands. They wanted to find uncontaminated land to ensure their survival and future development. However, the materials they carried made no mention of the cause of the virus outbreak. We then picked up the nearby camera. And the moment we played the recording, we all gasped in shock. In the footage, human cities resembled living hells, with streets packed densely like tidal waves with zombies. Roads, bridges, and rivers were all crowded with zombies and mutated animals. Even though the footage was shot from a great distance, I still broke out in a cold sweat. Bruce's face was also grim. He held me without saying a word. We watched the entire video in silence, suddenly overwhelmed by a sense of helplessness. Is the world really coming to an end? It was already 3 months later when I saw Florence again. She appeared before us with disheveled hair and a dirty face, her clothes torn into tattered strips barely hanging on her body with vines. Her once smooth and fair skin had turned dark and dry, her whole body had thinned considerably, and she bore countless scars, both old and new. The moment she saw me, she began to hysterically scream, "It's all your fault. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be like this." To be honest, I was surprised she was still alive, but I still picked up a wooden stick and struck her with it. She screamed and ran away, cursing as she fled. "You're dead, you're so dead, Violet. My dad will send someone to get me soon. The apocalypse is over, you're all doomed." I was shocked. Was it really over just like that, seeing me frozen in place? Florence laughed triumphantly and raised the satellite phone in her hand at me. "My dad contacted me. I told him the island's location, and he said he'd send the military to get me. I'll be going back soon." Her expression was almost manic. "I'm finally leaving, I'm going home. Ha ha ha, I think she's gone crazy." Seeing the disdain on my face, she rushed forward and grabbed my hand. "You don't believe me? I'll call my dad right now. Just you wait, I'll make him teach you a lesson, kick you out of the house, and sue you for abusing me. Get you thrown in jail." Disgusted, I shook off her hand. And she fell to the ground, starting to make the call. Surprisingly, the call actually went through. "Dad, come pick me up now." There was a long silence on the other end of the line, followed by the sound of someone moving around. Then, Mr. Fan's voice came through. "Florence, be good, Dad will come get you and take you home soon." Florence looked at me triumphantly. "See, I told you the apocalypse is over, Violet. If you kneel and beg me now, I might still ask my dad to take you with us. Otherwise, you can either fend for yourself here or wait to go to jail." She continued to act arrogantly, but suddenly the tone on the other end of the phone changed. "Florence, didn't you say you were alone? Why is Violet there too? Are there other forces with you?" Florence brushed it off. "Dad, there are only 2 of them, and they bullied me. They have so many supplies but never share even a bite with me." Father Fan's voice on the phone rose sharply. "Supplies? How much?" "Lots and lots. A whole ship's worth of supplies." Florence gestured excitedly. "Her man brought them by boat. They even built a shelter. I could hear waves of cheers coming from the other end of the phone. Florence didn't pay attention, but I heard it. A man said, "Damn it, there's no food left in this godforsaken place. Who would have thought someone was living the good life on the island?" I quickly realized these weren't military personnel at all. They were a bunch of fanatics from the apocalypse. They weren't here to rescue anyone, they came to settle on the island and plunder our supplies. Florence remained completely oblivious, cursing in my mind about how such a foolish woman could exist. I reached over and snatched her satellite phone. Hanging it up, she lunged to grab it back, but I kicked her away. This woman, who only knew how to ruin things, couldn't be kept around, but I had no intention of doing the dirty work myself. I sneered at her, "Without your guidance, they'll never make it to the island in their lifetime. Without a boat, there's no way you can go to meet them." With that, I turned and left without looking back, waiting only for the fish to take the bait. Florence took advantage of the night to escape. I went out to investigate upon hearing Yellow's barking, only to find Florence had already loaded some food onto the fishing boat, started the engine, and was preparing to leave. I shouted, "You're crazy, come back." Florence also yelled, "You're the crazy one. I really should thank you for reminding me. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have thought of taking a boat to find Dad and the others." "Ha ha ha, Violet, you idiot, just stay here and wait to die." I pretended to shout a few more times, then watched as the fishing boat drifted farther away. She wasn't there when the helicopter crashed, so of course she didn't know the sea was full of dangers. Florence, seeing that we couldn't catch up to her, waved at us provocatively with a smug look. The next second, a massive dark shadow leaped high out of the sea. Its enormous body loomed over the entire boat, casting a shadow beneath it. With a loud boom, the gigantic creature vanished along with the tiny fishing boat. The sea gradually returned to calm, as if nothing had ever happened. Florence never imagined, even in death, that after surviving so long on the island, she would die on the journey out to sea. I yawned and turned back to sleep. The troublemaker was completely dealt with. Bruce and I resumed our life with just the two of us and a dog. He jokingly told me that when we get married in the future, we wouldn't even need to go on a honeymoon. We've already lived through it now. The days passed one by one, and by then, it was already the 463rd day we had been stranded on the island. On the horizon, a massive cruise ship slowly approached. I found it strange. Wasn't the sea supposed to be dangerous? Weren't the exploration teams all traveling by plane? I grabbed the high-powered telescope and looked over, my heart instantly turning pale with fright. Inside the cabin of that passenger ship, countless zombies stood densely packed. Not only that, but the deck was also completely covered with zombies. There were so many, easily numbering in the hundreds. "Now, the ship is heading straight for our small island." I quickly called Bruce over, and his face turned pale when he saw it. "Our weapons and defenses are completely inadequate against such a terrifying horde of the undead." There was no time left for preparation. We hastily gathered our belongings, took Yellow, and ran toward the mountains. Zombies wander aimlessly without a target. All we can do now is pray they don't head up the mountain first. As Bruce pulled me onto a large rock, I saw the ship crash violently into the edge of the island. Zombies poured out of the cabin like a tide, flooding ashore. Standing at the mountaintop, we watched the dense swarm of zombies charge toward the shelter we had built. The outer ring of traps served some purpose, but not much. The later zombies stepped on the bodies of the ones in front, and just like that, they breached the shelter. I sighed. Now we'll have to deal with post-disaster reconstruction again. Bruce comforted me. "It's fine, we still have plenty of time." The zombies wandered tirelessly, and soon a few headed into the mountains. The rest seemed to follow like a herd, also starting to climb the mountain. My heart was in my throat. They climbed slowly, but their sheer numbers were overwhelming. Bruce and I carefully dealt with the lone zombies as we made our way up the mountain. The growls around us grew more and more dense, and the number of zombies in sight increased from 2 or 3 to over a dozen. They possess an excellent sense of smell and hearing, and no matter how careful we are, we cannot escape their pursuit. I feel despair. Could it be that even after being reborn, I still cannot escape the fate of death? By the time we reached the mountaintop, we were already surrounded by zombies. Bruce and I instinctively covered each other's backs, wielding our machetes and crowbars to fight back. The number of zombies was simply overwhelming. We barely managed to deal with one wave before the next quickly caught up. I gradually lost the strength to swing my blade. The thick metallic scent of blood in the air made me nauseous, and my hands had nearly gone numb, only mechanically striking at anything that approached. My exhaustion gave the zombies an opening. After smashing one zombie's skull, another lunged at me from the side. I raised my armored arm in defense, but soon I was pinned beneath the horde, my protective suit tore, and sharp pain shot through my arm as teeth sank in. I let out a shattered scream as a burning, agonizing sensation spread from the bite wound throughout my entire body. I heard Yellow barking wildly, struggling to open my eyes, and saw Bruce knock the zombie off me, looking at me with a pained expression. Seeing his tears fall, I forced a strained smile. "I'm sorry. I'm afraid I won't have time to join you in post-disaster reconstruction. Kill me. I don't want to turn into one of those disgusting monsters." Watching as the knockdown zombie got back up and approached, with Bruce still holding me tight, I shouted urgently, "Run, get out of here." "No." He shook his head, holding me tighter. "I promised you we would get married. I'll never leave you." I wanted to say more, but my vision blurred, and I couldn't speak. I could feel my human memories and senses fading away. Is this the end? Before my consciousness faded completely, I heard the sound of gunfire. When I woke up again, I was lying in bed. What's going on? Didn't I turn into a zombie? Was everything before just a dream? I struggled to sit up and found my wrist handcuffed, and 4 needle was inserted into the back of my hand, and I realized I was lying on a hospital bed. "Patient 103 is awake." I heard someone say these words. And then the door of the ward was pushed open as several doctors in white coats walked in. "Violet, right? Are you okay? Do you feel any discomfort?" I shook my head blankly. They asked me a few more questions and then removed the handcuffs from me. "Congratulations, Miss Violet. Welcome back to this world as a human being." They helped me into a wheelchair, saying they were taking me for a few tests, and if everything was fine, I could wait to be discharged. On the way, they told me everything about the zombie virus. The virus originated from scientific research in a certain Western superpower. After an accidental leak, it infected many people. Initially, there was an incubation period, and unknowing carriers spread the virus worldwide, infecting even more. After the zombie virus outbreak, the country took immediate control measures. However, due to the unprecedented nature of the crisis, they couldn't suppress it right away. Ultimately, our nation chose to retreat in order to advance, first establishing shelters at sea and then continuously sending personnel to liberate the hardest-hit areas. Just a month ago, the country finally developed a vaccine to combat the virus and began a comprehensive, large-scale rescue operation. Although this vaccine isn't a cure-all, it only works if administered within an hour of infection. The rescue team found us just as Bruce and I were being transformed. They fought off the zombies surrounding us, saved Bruce, me, and Yellow, who had also been bitten, administered the vaccine, and brought us to the safe zone. When I was discharged from the hospital, I was still in a daze, standing at the hospital entrance, watching the bustling traffic on the street. I suddenly felt an overwhelming sense of unreality. "Violet," a gentle, familiar voice called from behind. I turned sharply to see Bruce holding Yellow's hand, smiling as he walked toward me. I could no longer control myself and ran toward him, hugging him tightly. We kissed passionately, unwilling to part for the longest time. The thought of how he was willing to die with me back then made me cry uncontrollably. He gently stroked my back and wiped away my tears. "Don't cry, Violet, don't be afraid." He kissed my forehead. "Do you remember what I said back then?" I looked up at him. "I said we had plenty of time for post-disaster reconstruction. Now, would you like to join me in that?" I smiled through tears and rested my head on his chest. "I do." That's all the story. What do you think of this story? Share with me in the comments section. What would you do if you were in this situation? Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.